this is it, my first CPL class since I was a police officer. It's a 3-day class. We'll have lots to talk about, I'm sure. So I'm gonna go sit in this class, and it's gonna be about 3 hours tonight, tomorrow, and the next day. Stay tuned.
It is so weird to be here right now. I'm back in a firearms classroom just with civilians, and the smells, fluorescent lights, a bunch of people who are interested in guns, are expert instructors. It's such a weird place to be, and then not be a cop for once. It's totally weird.
This is what the classroom looks like. It looks like every firearms range classroom. It looks like every gun cleaning room that they have at a range. Every police officer has a room that looks like this somewhere. This actually looks a lot like a squad room. But it's just weird. The drop ceiling, the fluorescent lights, the 8-foot tables, the old 1980s banquet chairs. It just brings back memories. It's kind of nostalgic, but it's also weird because I'm not a cop anymore. I don't know. It was just weird being in here. So as you can see, I sat in the back with my wife. There was, 15 people in the classroom, maybe 20. There's an instructor up front, and there's a TV that he used for his illustrations up at the front.
It's weird. There's like posters on the wall that are like from gun companies, and the clock has a gun sponsor on it. I guess that's what you expect from a gun range, but just the type of person that walks around in this place kind of bugs me a little bit, to be honest. But at least it looks like we have an instructor who's in shape, because I feel like it's your responsibility to be in shape and to know how to defend yourself without your weapon, and then to use it when you have to, you know? I'm concerned that you're going to use this weapon before you should actually use it, you know? At least there's some in shape, even some old guys in shape, and I like to see that. I'm anxious to see, though, if they're going to be friendly or be, arrogant or whatever. It's just so weird to be on this side of it for once. Got a lot running through my mind.
You have to bring your shirt out before you get to your gun. You know? So you have an extra step right there.
All right, now that that's over, we get to go downstairs to the range and spend the next hour and a half shooting the guns.
This is your magazine. Focus on the front sight.
Sorry about the camera view. We weren't allowed to film in here, so I just set my phone up, hit record. Can't really see much.
Alright, the line is ready. Shooter, take 10, put aim ground, commence fire.
Alright, anybody who's ever spent any amount of time in a shooting range, they're all the same. If you've ever taken a class, it's the same terminology. Ready on the left, ready on the right, ready on the firing lines, commence firing. It's all the same. So basically, I had a lot of fun. It had been a while. I shot well. They told me some annoying things that I knew weren't right, but you kind of just got to deal with it, suck it up, let them tell you. Like, one of the things was pointing the muzzle downrange when you're changing out the magazine. But it is whatever.
All right, it's already day 2 of the Michigan CPL class. So far, I've only been a little annoyed and a little unimpressed, but I know what I'm getting myself into, so I'm trying to get all that stuff out of my head and just be open-minded. But let's see what kind of shenanigans they're going to talk about today. I will say that the group of people, there's maybe 2 or 3 of them that seem interested, but the rest of them just seem like they're going through this to get their certification, which I get it. I also don't think that anyone there has had any training in martial arts or any type of hand-to-hand combat, so I'm just guessing, I'm just speculating based on the body types and how people carry themselves. So that bothers me a little bit, but it is a right to carry. I just wish that people took a more active, responsible role in their self-defense, you know? Anyway, we'll see how this goes.
All right, well, I'm just going to skip the classroom stuff. It was basically a lot of gun safety and a lot of legal stuff. And some of the questions people asked freaked me out, if I'm being honest. But then we got back to the range and started having fun. Christina was shooting well. I was happy with her muzzle discipline and her gun safety, and her grouping wasn't bad. She hasn't shot a gun in a few years, so it was fun. They started going over some maneuvers that I was actually glad that they did. They had a shooting from behind cover. They had a shooting from behind concealment, teaching us how to shoot around cover. I got to actually shoot my Glock 26, so I was glad we got to do that. Up until then, we'd been shooting their 22s, so Christina got to shoot a SIG, and I was shooting my Glock. We both shot pretty well. It's always fun to send some rounds downrange, so my instructor this time was pretty cool too. This guy saw that I had some background in firearms at least, and I can handle it, so he kind of just let me be, and I really appreciated that. It was good. But overall, the second day was fun, and we found out Christina's a sniper. So day 3 comes around, we did the first half classwork, and then we hit the range. Today was going to be the qualification course. You just had to put all the rounds, I think it was 10 rounds, on the target. So pretty simple. Had a blast. It's good to shake the rust off, and you feel more confident. And at the end, this is what you get, the Concealed Pistol License Safety and Training Course. I just got to take this down to the Sheriff's Department, along with the paperwork I got to fill out, and wait in the mail for my CPL.
Okay, so I just got out of the Macomb County Clerk Register of Deeds, and it only took about 20 minutes. I was supposed to make an appointment. He was kind of upset, the guy at the door, but he said, you know what, I think I can squeeze you in real quick before we close. And he brought me in. I had to fill out a new application because the one that I had did not say 2019 at the top. Mine was printed off from the place where I took my gun course, and they must have used a copy machine and it clipped it off, and that wasn't sufficient. So they had to give me a new one. I refilled out the application. It's only one page front and back, and then you're not supposed to sign it. So you fill it out, you bring it up to her, she submits all the stuff, and then there was a plexiglass between us. She said, Mr. Korenic, raise your right hand. And I raised my right hand. She said, do you swear that the information provided on this application is true to the best of your knowledge? I said, yes, I do. She said, okay, sign right here. And she was the witness to that. Then basically she took $115 debit card transaction and gave me this receipt, which is the receipt that I paid for it, and a printed out version of all the information that I filled out on my application. She said I have to bring this along with my state ID. They're going to process me at the Macomb County Records Office. All right, guys, so I'm back at the Macomb County Jail. They're supposed to process my paperwork and do my fingerprints. Let's see how this goes. All right, so the fingerprinting was like 5 minutes, but I waited an hour. So that was rough. But it wasn't bad at all. Apparently, you don't have to sit in front of a panel or a board anymore, which the first time I got my CPL, I had to do that. I'm ready to go. They say just wait, and I'm going to receive my concealed pistol license in the mail. So we'll see how long this takes to get. But today is August 12th, 2020. So hopefully it comes quick. I'm hearing it may be up to 6 months because of the elections and COVID and all that stuff. People are pretty worried. But overall, it wasn't a bad process, especially if you plan it right, get there at the right time. But I would recommend you making reservations. So you call and set up an appointment at the registrar, and then you also call and set up an appointment here at the Macomb County Jail. It'll make things go a lot easier and quicker.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Look what I just got. This was mailed out on September 16th, 2020. September 16th. This says, Dear Mr. Korenic, enclosed is your approved Michigan concealed pistol license. Your license will remain valid until it expires unless you receive a letter of statutory disqualification, suspension, or revocation from our office. Sincerely, Fred Miller, Macomb County Clerk. Here it is, guys. This is my concealed pistol license, my CPL. It used to be called CCW in Michigan before I moved to Hawaii. I haven't had one since I became a police officer. I had a CPL when I became a police officer, but it becomes void when you move out of the state. So, and it also expired on me because you have to renew it. I think it's every 5 years. And I was in Hawaii and I didn't renew it because I didn't need it. I was a police officer, and police officers are allowed to carry their weapons in the United States. It's a federal law. So I really didn't need the CPL. But having moved back to Michigan, it took me a while. I just didn't want to deal with the gun for a while, to be honest with you. It wasn't that big a deal to me. I remember a long time ago, it was a bigger deal when I had a gun because it was like, it was new. But after being a police officer and being required to carry my gun with me 24 hours a day everywhere I was at, it just wasn't something that was a big deal to me. Like, I didn't like it. It felt like a burden that I had to do it. So after that time wore off and I'm in Michigan and I want to be able to carry a gun to protect my family, I went ahead and applied for this license. So it finally came in the mail, and I'm stoked. It says that it expires on my birthday in 2025. So I basically got 5 years. That was pretty quick. This whole process was pretty quick. So now I got to carry this on me. If I'm ever pulled over, I have to notify the police officer that I have one of these and whether I have my weapon or not. And so as of today, I get to start carrying my pistol to protect myself and my family. And that's a pretty awesome feeling. And I wish my friends in Hawaii could experience that. It's an empowering thing to have it on you, but it's so powerful and it's so important and it's so scary. If you are not incredibly intimidated by the responsibility of carrying a pistol, then you have the wrong frame of mind. Life is harder when you carry a pistol and you have a heavier burden of responsibility on yourself. What I mean by that is you have this gun on your hip now, and there is so much more that happens in your brain that you have to fight urges to do when you're carrying a pistol. You have to do things that would minimize the risk or the chance that you have to use that gun. So instead of being like, oh, you know what, I carry a gun, now I can just go to the hood anytime I want to at 2 a.m. to go do whatever I want to do, or I can get in arguments or fights, or I can road rage on folks anytime I want to. Negative, that's not how this works. Now that you got this bad baby, you got to keep your mouth shut. You got to go places, you got to stop going places that might get you in trouble, or you might have to use this sucker. Because you shoot somebody, you go into jail, my friend, and if you don't go to jail, your life's going to be turned upside down. Then you got mental stuff you got to deal with. And a lot of you big boys think that you could just shoot somebody and it ain't going to change nothing inside your brain. But that's scientifically false. You take a life and you realize you take a life, like you actually know you did, something changes up here. And there's a lot of things that can change and that can harm you mentally from having to shoot somebody. Not to mention, you just took a life and there's no coming back from that. And so somebody makes a mistake, does something they shouldn't do, and then you shot them. How many times have you made a mistake and you didn't get shot? And then you ended up changing your life and you're glad. You could have got shot, it would have been justified, but you didn't get shot. Now look at you, you turned your life around. You got kids and a wife and a job and you're doing good and you're glad no one took your life for doing that stupid thing you did. But then someone does something to you and you shoot them. You think that's not going to stick in your brain? Think you're not going to be up nights? You think you are, you talk a big game. But until you're required to carry a gun around and have to point them at people every night and think about taking lives, you don't know that burden. Unless you're a soldier that went to war and you had to take lives, you had to look down the barrel of a gun at somebody and think about taking his life and make that decision, you don't know what it's like. And so I wish that everybody who had one of these would think of that responsibility. This gets me impassioned because this is way more responsibility than people give it credit. This thing changes everything. Now I feel heavy when I go out. I can't just go anywhere. It's just not gonna be the case. And if some dude tries to start a fight with me on the road, runs me off the road and gets out of his car and runs up to my car, when I'm not carrying my gun, I might get out and scrap. But when I'm carrying my gun, I can't get out and throw hands with this dude. What's gonna happen? And what if he pulls out a weapon? Now I gotta shoot him. When if I just drove away, none of that happens. When you carry this card, you got to check your ego, my friend. So if I can implore people, as an ex-cop and as someone who's carried a concealed pistol license for the better part of 15 years, having not had it for a while and then becoming a civilian and going through that transition in my head and having that new perspective and now getting this back, I gotta slow my roll. I gotta take this serious. Yes, this is a freedom, but many freedoms are bigger burdens than you would think. Aloha, my friends. Take it easy and be safe. And thank you for watching.